The Dallas Mavericks are winners of 3 straight games. But more importantly, have they figured out the rotation? Has Jason Kidd found something that is working? On today's One More Thing of Locked On Mavs.
I'm here because I have to be here.
Dallas is going to get a seat at the table.
That's it. It's me versus the machine. Don't let his whiteness take away from his quickness.
You can rest later. You're young.
I'm here to recover your beer.
Wait. One more thing. Yeah, it's a one more thing. You are locked on the Dallas Mavericks. This is one of your co-hosts, Isaac Harris, longtime co-host of the show. In my 10th season covering the Mavs. And here we are. After a Mavs win, the day after, they beat this shorthanded Pelicans team on this crazy blue court. Just hats off. An Emirates Cup win. Big time win, for the Mavs. Last night, but they've won 3 straight games. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment below. You can say anything. Make sure you like the show on YouTube, and you probably already subscribed. But here you go. I got a question for you, for YouTubers. Yes or no? Did you like the blue court? It's really simple. Did you like the Mavericks blue Emirates Cup court? I got an opinion. I'll share it at the end. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen of the day. Go listen to Locked On NBA for your second listen of the day. And of course, if you haven't listened to Nick and Slightly post game, make sure you do that. In the arena, vibing out, Coach Slightly, and all of that. Get the game breakdown against the Pelicans. If you haven't subscribed to our Locked On Mavs Insiders through our subtext text program, make sure you do that. It is a way to support the show, but also you get notes all the time sent to you. Nick's shot a text out tonight. We sent 2,000 texts since we started this thing. We don't blow up your phone every single day, but we send you all the latest news, rumors, all the stuff from inside the arena and across the league and all the stuff about the Mavs. And then our free newsletter. Guys, we're almost to 1,000. Almost. And guys, I like bragging against some of the bigger markets or against somebody like Boston who are like, hey, we won the title. John Corrales just wants to rub that in our faces, But I like to say, but we're number 1 in newsletters. So get at us. You don't have a fan base like ours. So anyway, keep us at number 1. Make sure you subscribe to our free newsletter. You could do all of that, how to support the show through our QR code there on the screen on YouTube, or if you're an audio person, in the description below. I want to talk about the rotation. I feel like Jason Kidd approaches the Mavericks rotation kind of like playing with like Legos. How many of you are Lego fans? If you're like a diehard, if you want to say that you are in the top 15% of people in the US as far as how many Legos you have, put it in the comments. And if you're like, hey, I'm in the top 20% of the world, put it in the comments and say, yes, that's me. That's me. Because I'm all into Legos right now with my son. I love building this stuff. My daughter's into them too. My son just loves like geeking out and finding he will spend money on like a little character. And I'm like, this is so cool. You get Iron Man. And then it's a matter of like 2 minutes and Iron Man's in 14 different pieces. And he's being combined with like Black Panther and like Cyclops. And I'm like, what? I just bought this character. Like, why did you do this? I kind of feel like Jason Kidd was playing with like Legos through these first few weeks of the season. Like, I'm going to put these lineups together or this combination together, or, hey, Spencer Dinwiddie, you're not going to play for the first few games of the season and kind of fake us out. So many of us were like, dude, Dinwiddie, he's going to be like the six man, like guy for this team. He's going to be like that third scoring guard, all the stuff. Then he starts off not playing. We're like, wow, that's kind of a surpriser. Then he actually starts playing that third game. He's the first guy off the bench to play against Utah. And we're like, all right, you go from DMPCDs to now you're playing as the first guy off the bench. And then he stays in the rotation. He's trusted a lot. Jason Kidd loves him in the rotation. And then bam, now over the past week, he's not playing at all. And now he finds himself on the outside of the rotation. You look at a guy like Quentin Grimes that, your first tenure here in Dallas is like, hey, one game, I'm going to play a lot. Another game, I'm barely going to take off my warm-ups. And then another game, I'm going to carry out Luka's mouthpiece And another game, I'm like going to finish the game, and people are talking about, dude, is he going to be a starter at some point in the season? I don't know what's going through Quentin Grimes' head right now as far as his role, but he's playing good basketball, and it looks like Jason Kidd has found something with him in the rotation, and I want him to stay in the rotation. I've been with Nick on this. Nick is like planted his flag. This is like the new Reggie Bullock for Nick this season of like, hey, sorry you felt you should play more. Nick's like been on this, like, hey, Quentin Grimes should be playing more, and now he is, and he's playing good basketball. You look at a guy like Jaden Hardy. I don't know what Jaden Hardy's role's been since he got drafted in Dallas. So I think he's still like it. I mean, there's one time I'm like, dude, I guess he's just out of the rotation, barring an injury one night. And then bam, now he's like, he is the scoring guard off the bench that we thought Dinwiddie could have been earlier in the season. You obviously look at the bigs, and it's like Gafford starts the season, and we're on this podcast like, dude, Lively has to start. Even after we start the season, even after we like win some game, I'm like, dude, Lively should be starting. And now Lively is taking that spot back. Lively is starting. You look at, there were different times last year, playoffs, they played, matchups and making the big change and stuff, but Lively starting. They've won the past few games, and I wouldn't say lineup continuity is something that you could describe the Mavericks so far this season. And I think it matters, right? Like you look at a team, obviously the talent matters. You can have a sucky team with some guys with a horrible roster and have great lineup continuity, be rolling out the same starting five, logging a ton of minutes together, and they still suck. You can still do that. But the Mavericks don't have that, right? Or they don't have that continuity right now. You look at a team like Boston, who, yes, there's the talent is there, but with Boston, their best five that plays for them has played 137 minutes together. You look at the 5-man unit that's played the most minutes together for the Mavericks so far this season. This was before this Pelicans game, was the starting lineup with Gafford in it, and they've played 77 minutes together. If you say, hey, Isaac, how many minutes have the starting five with Derek Lively in place of Gafford played before this Pelicans game? 35 minutes this season. Let's go on top of that and talk about the impact that injuries have had on this team. If you look at the amount of times or the games in which the starting five that started tonight in the game before this of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, and Derek Lively, those five together, when they all five play in the same game, they're 6-2 on the season. Lively has missed time. PJ Washington's missed time. Luka missed a game there. Kyrie missed a game there. But when all five of these guys play, I think they're a really good basketball team. And I know it's early in the season, but they have a 6-2 record when all five of those guys play. Even one of those losses against Houston when Lively's in that foul trouble and all the weird stuff. But there is a reason why that there were a lot of people, including ourselves on this pile, like, dude, the Mavericks are going to have a really good record this year. They're going to be really good. And I also think it gives you a reason, too, to not abandon those takes yet. Like, they have struggled. It's been weird. There's been some weird Lego moving around for Jason Kidd, and probably a little bit more than what I would do. But you know what? I'm sitting here doing a podcast. Jason Kidd's making $1 million coaching in the NBA and is in the Hall of Fame. So he knows way more about basketball than I do. So I get that. But a part of our job is to also like analyze and criticize and all the different stuff, the basketball stuff. So I don't understand some of the rotation stuff. It feels like he treats it as more of like a into the season type of thing, like 10, 12, 15 type of games of like until we really figure things out. But the most encouraging sign of all of this, it looks like they finally landed on something. And that was one of my takeaways. I get it. It's a shorthanded Pelicans team. I'm pretty confident that Nick, Slightly, and myself could have locked some minutes off the bench. They kept on bringing dudes off the bench. And I'm like, oh yeah, I liked him on this other team. Oh, okay. He had a stretch there that I liked on this other team. I'm like, dude, they're just like piecing together a roster right now. But I do think they found something with this rotation. And I want to take a quick break, and then I'm going to come back, and I want to talk about the rest of the rotation and kind of the experiments parts and how it plays with Luka and Kyrie and the crew and all that stuff. But let's take a quick break.
I don't believe you shouldn't be here.
This podcast is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Guys, FanDuel. You go to sportsbook.fanduel and you can look up the latest odds. The Mavs got a game against Denver coming up, and I'm pretty confident in this Mavs team going into Denver. They really want to win in Denver. They haven't won in Denver in a while. So make sure, if you're confident like I am, you can go to sportsbook.fanduel.com. And here's the thing, even like during the game, when you're watching the Mavs play the Nuggets later on this week, if you want to be tracking it and then you make new bets during the game, you can do that. If you get this like hunch there in the middle of the game, like, all right, I feel really confident about this, you can do that. You can check out the latest stats, view the live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place the first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. This podcast is also brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money on sports action with over 10 million members. That's a lot of members and billions of dollars. Be nice to have that. In awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long for Prize Picks. It's the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including yours truly, Texas. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. It's the best way to win real money this basketball season. Hey, which players are going to go off? Which players aren't? Make your picks. I know you guys are confident in this. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, that's download the app today. Use LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
What about that music coming out of the break? Huh? Who's getting better? Who is getting better? This guy. This guy. All right, now I got to take the music out. All right. This is a rotation that Kid has landed on right now that I like, and I'm assuming that a lot of you guys like too. You look at this lineup tonight, the lineup that should have been starting all season long. Luka, Kyrie, Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, Derek Lively. And then off the bench, Quentin Grimes, Najee Marshall, Danny G, Daniel Gafford, and Jaden Hardy. And then you get a Maxey there too. Guys, that's the lineup right there. Like, that is the rotation. And I get it. Spencer Dinwiddie is the odd man out. You know who doesn't like this right now? Probably Spencer Dinwiddie. But Quentin Grimes getting over that 20-minute mark, I think that is big for this team defensively, guarding some of these perimeter guys. I love that role for Najee Marshall. Najee is the one that I'm curious to see what his role looks like as far as like an increased role. Does he finish some of these games and all of that? I think Gafford, this is one of my things about Lively starting is we've talked about this Mavericks team starting good and starting early and being effective early in the games. They've like dug that hole so many times, and we're like, we know the story, we know how this book goes, we get it. This Mavericks team sucks. They struggle early on in the game, but then they kind of bounce back most of the time. And then Jason Kidd, he calls out the team, and then he talks about the energy. I remember sitting there asking Jason Kidd a few weeks ago, I'm like, hey, what goes into that decision between having a Derek Lively or a Gafford start the game? And he really bragged on the energy that Lively brings off the bench and all of that. But this actually goes into like why I think they need Lively in the starting lineup, because they've really struggled to start some of these games. And now you see, and I get it, Pelicans shorthanded. I get all of that. But we saw a little bit different energy against OKC. We definitely seen him get out to a better start against New Orleans. And I just like the energy that Lively brings there with that first unit to start the game. And then you get Daniel Gafford just feasting on these backup bigs. And it's like, dude, let him feast. Like he's gotten so much better at just going up so strong in the paint or on these offensive boards. So yeah, I just like Gafford in that second unit with Najee, with Quentin Grimes. And Jaden Hardy's kind of like just taking that from Dinwiddie of like, I think Hardy's playing better than Dinwiddie. And I think the only thing, and this is, I put it on the YouTube thumbnail there, not the thumbnail, but you see it on the screen about no more experiments. Now the Mavericks can just like play into this rotation. they can kind of get some of this lineup continuity. You're still going to see some experimenting here and there with like certain lineups that with certain matchups and stuff. But for the most part, as long as they're healthy, I think you're going to see a lot of these rotations look the same. Let's get a few weeks under our belts with this same rotation. And I think that's where they can really start excelling. And we can see the Mavs take off on like a little mini run here with the schedule coming up. Cause I'm really confident in beating Denver on Friday. And then you get this kind of weird back-to-back with Miami and Atlanta. I'm worried about that Atlanta game on Monday before the Knicks game in the middle of the next week. But I'm excited for that. I'm excited that feels like they've landed on a rotation, and let's keep it. Let's run with it. It's working right now. Two things I got for the very end. The blue court. Where are you at? Yes or no? I'm a no. I'm all out on them. There's just something about I was all for the gray court. Love the City Edition jerseys and all the stuff this year. I think it's awesome. The blue court, I just can't do them. The bright red courts, I can't do them. Yeah, I mean, after the ownership change, they might go to a red court next year, but it feels so bright and so I just don't think it looks good. It feels like the first time I like logged into 2K and back like 10 years ago, and I did the whole I'm rolling up with my guys on one against this other team in like a custom court, and they just made the court so ugly. And it's like we're all on the mic doing like, dude, why'd you do this to your court? Well, now it's actually on purpose in real life in an NBA game. So I'm just out on the all blue court. You can call me an old man. The funniest moment of the night. If you're here, if you haven't turned this off, this is the funniest moment of the night. So if you're local in Dallas, I gotta get quiet right now because I'm gonna call out my wife, and it's kind of funny. So if you're locally in Dallas, this game aired on Channel 8, which is ABC. All right. You know what else aired tonight? Or I love the misspeaking here. You know what was supposed to air tonight? Dancing with the Stars. You know who's really watching Dancing with the Stars and like obsessed with it this season? My wife. So I seen the whole ticker. I couldn't go to the game tonight. It's a different story. But I seen the ticker come across the screen, but my wife didn't. That said, Dancing with the Stars will air at 1 a.m. in the morning because the Mavs were playing. And I'm like, oh, yes. This is going to be incredible. She's going to be expecting. So here we go. The game ends. I'm not kidding you. The buzzer sounds. And she's like, you know what tonight is? Dun, 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 dun. Does the whole like, yeah. And she's like, Dancing with the Stars right now. And I was like, about that. Dude, so salty, so upset. Went to the whole like recording stuff and was like making sure, even went online to make sure. I'm like, no, I promise you, they had a ticker on the screen multiple times throughout the game. And it was just a great moment. I laughed probably too much because she was pretty salty about it because she's like, she can't stay up till 1 to watch it. And honestly, if she did, I'd be kind of worried. I'd be like, hey, BetterHelp is a sponsor of the show. And but anyway, so that was one of my highlights of the night, of getting to soak in that moment that the Mavs took away Dancing with the Stars for a lot of you out there. Or I don't know if it's a lot of people still watch that show. I didn't even know that show is still going on until this season, in which I've watched a little bit of it. And the last thing I'm going to say is Dwight Howard is on that season. And buddy, I think you're better at Dancing with the Stars than a comeback. And you're not very good at Dancing with the Stars. That's it for today. And this one more thing of Locked On Mavs. We'll be back tonight. I think we're recording tonight, Nick and myself. And so we'll be back later on tonight talking more about the Mavs and this upcoming Denver game. Guys, peace out. Go listen to Nick and Slightly if for some reason you missed that episode. Mavs, winners of 3 straight. Let's do this. Peace out.